Bill Gates. Just have a listen to him here claim that climate change is pushing down the productivity of farms in Africa.
In fact, we have the twin challenges of both population growth and climate change that's pushing down the productivity that we have on those farms today. Climate change that's pushing down the productivity that we have on those farms today. And so this is quite alarming. And if you go out to 2040, 2050, 2060, it gets substantially worse because even in the best case, climate's temperature increases are continuing. And so if we just let this continue, we'll be moving away from that green revolution to sort of a brown regression where you have lots of crops dying because of drought and heat effects. Yes, climate change is the greatest problem, the biggest threat to our food supply since the invention of agriculture.
So Bill Gates claims that climate change is pushing down the productivity of farms in Africa. Well, let's just have a look at some of the data about some of the productivity of farms on Africa with the crop yields. Now, this is from Our World in Data, and it's not crop production, it's crop yields, which is directly how much productivity from each hectare or acre of farmland. Now, we start off with the productivity of wheat since 1980, and even though these graphs go back to 1961, I'll look at the productivity numbers I quote will be from 1980 to 2022, which is the latest data. So crop yields for wheat from 1980 to 2022 are up 146%. Corn yields up 42% over the same period. Banana yields up 85%. Oranges off the orange tree yields up 40%. Cocoa beans yields up 60%. And potatoes yields up 66%. There's a whole lot of other crops that I could go through from Africa, but all of them have shown dramatic increases in the productivity of farmland in Africa since 1980 and going back, of course, since 1961. But over that last 40 years, when it's supposed to have been driven down, according to Mr. Gates, by climate change, the data shows the exact opposite. You cannot trust this bloke as far as you can throw him. Now, this bloke Gates is a menace to society. He's not just some average, everyday billionaire. The bloke is a true menace. He's got this insane plan to try, and because of climate change, to dim the sun by spraying chemicals in the atmosphere to block the sun's rays.
Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial. It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
What will that do to productivity on farmlands if you're spraying stuff in the sky that blocks the sun? And then Bill Gates thinks the cows are a problem.
Cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone. So we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
He